Have you ever stood over a tomato plant that's tall, green, and clearly thriving and wondered why you're barely getting any actual tomatoes? Or why the few you do get have an ugly dark spot on the bottom? I've been there. And here's the frustrating truth. The worst tomato mistakes aren't loud. They don't kill your plant overnight. They quietly drain your harvest while everything looks just fine on the surface. Hi, I'm Linda, and here on Garden Lessons with Linda, I help you grow more food with a lot less guesswork. If your tomatoes have ever let you down, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and stay with me, because these 7 quiet mistakes could be costing you your entire crop without you even realizing it. So let's dig in. Mistake number 1, planting too early. I get it. The sun comes out, the garden center fills up with tomato seedlings, and you can't wait to get them in the ground. I've rushed it myself, and I've paid for it every single time. Here's the problem. Tomatoes are warm season plants, and they are genuinely sensitive to cold. A late frost will zap a young seedling in no time, but even when frost does not kill the plant outright, cold soil quietly sets it back for weeks. A chilled tomato just sits there, sulking, refusing to grow, while it slowly recovers its strength and vigor. The fix is patience. Wait until all danger of frost has passed, and check your soil temperature, not just the air. Tomatoes want soil that's at least 60 degrees, and they're truly happy once it reaches 65 to 70 degrees. A cheap soil thermometer takes the guesswork right out of it. And while you're shopping, resist the urge to grab the tallest, leggiest seedling that's already covered in flowers. Bigger is not better here. A short, stocky plant with a thick stem and bright green leaves will outgrow a tall, spindly one and start producing sooner. So slow down at planting time. Your future harvest depends on it. Mistake number 2, planting too shallow. This one is so common, and almost nobody realizes they're doing it. We plant tomatoes the way we plant everything else, pop the root ball in, cover it up to where it was in the pot, and call it done. But tomatoes are special. Unlike most plants, a tomato can grow brand new roots all along its buried stem. See those tiny fuzzy hairs on the stem? Every single one of them can become a root if you bury it. That means a tomato planted too shallow is leaving a huge, powerful root system completely on the table. So here's what I want you to do. Pinch off the lower sets of leaves and plant your seedling deep. I'm talking about burying it so the top of the root ball sits 2 to 3 inches below the soil line, sometimes even deeper. If you've got a leggy plant, you can dig a shallow trench and lay it on its side, gently curving the top up out of the soil. The result is a bigger, stronger, more expansive root system. And a tomato with a powerful root system finds more water, pulls up more nutrients, and shrugs off summer heat far better than a shallow-rooted plant ever could. It's one of the easiest upgrades you can make, and it costs you nothing but a little courage with the shovel. If I could fix just one habit for most gardeners, it would be this one. Inconsistent watering is the silent saboteur behind 2 of the most heartbreaking tomato problems out there. Tomatoes want steady, even moisture, about 1 inch of water per week and more during a hot, dry spell. When you let the soil swing from bone dry to soaking wet and back again, the plant can't keep up. And that is where the trouble starts. 2 things in particular happen. First, your tomatoes start cracking and splitting, usually after the soil goes dry and then suddenly gets a big drink. The fruit swells faster than its skin can stretch and it splits right open. Second, and this is the big one, you get blossom end rot. That is the dark, sunken, leathery spot on the bottom of the fruit, and it is caused by a calcium shortage inside the tomato. Now here is the part people miss. Most of the time, it is not that your soil lacks calcium. It is that the plant cannot move calcium where it needs to go without steady water flow. The calcium rides up through the plant in water, so when watering is erratic, the fruit gets starved even when the soil has plenty. So water deeply and regularly. A soaker hose or drip line is wonderful for this. And mulch, a few inches of straw or shredded leaves around the base, keeps that moisture even and steady so your plants never have to ride the roller coaster. Mistake number 4, watering over the top of the plant. So you've decided to water consistently. Wonderful. But how you water matters just as much as how often. Spraying water down over the whole plant, soaking the leaves, is quietly inviting disease into your garden. Here's why. Tomatoes are prone to fungal troubles, and one of the most common is early blight. When you water from above, you splash soil up onto the lower leaves and leave the foliage wet for hours. Wet leaves plus warm, humid weather is exactly the environment those fungal spores love. The disease creeps up the plant, browning and killing leaves from the bottom up, until by late summer, you're left with a few sad green leaves clinging to a bare stalk. The solution is simple. Water at the base, right at the soil, and keep the leaves as dry as you can. A watering wand, a long neck watering can, or a soaker hose all do this beautifully. As a bonus, base watering sends more water straight to the roots and wastes far less to evaporation. If you do water by hand, do it in the morning. That way, any drops that land on the leaves dry off quickly in the sun instead of sitting there damp all night. Pair this with a good layer of mulch, which blocks those soil-borne spores from splashing up in the first place, and you've taken a huge bite out of your disease problems. Mistake number 5, crowding your plants together. I know the temptation. You've got a beautiful tray of seedlings and a limited patch of garden, and you think, surely I can squeeze them in just a little closer. I'll tell you right now, that crowding will cost you. Tomatoes need room, and not just for their roots. They need AIR moving freely between them. When plants are jammed together, the leaves stay damp longer after rain or dew, and that lingering moisture is an open invitation for the fungal diseases we just talked about. Crowded plants also shade each other out, so leaves and fruit that should be soaking up sunshine end up sitting in the shadows, ripening slowly or not at all. And then there's the underground battle. Plants packed too close are fighting each other for the same water and the same nutrients, so everybody ends up a little undernourished and a little stressed. So give them space. For most tomatoes, the regular vining types, aim for at least 3 feet between plants. The compact bush or patio varieties can go a bit closer, but even they appreciate breathing room. I promise you, 6 healthy, well-spaced plants will outproduce a dozen crammed-in, struggling ones every single time. In the garden, sometimes less really is more. Mistake number 6, feeding too much nitrogen. This is the mistake that fools people the most because the plant looks absolutely magnificent while it's happening. Picture it. A towering, bushy tomato plant, deep green, leaves the size of your hand, lush and gorgeous, and almost no fruit. Sound familiar? That's the calling card of too much nitrogen. Nitrogen is the nutrient that drives leafy vegetative growth. So when you overfeed it, usually with a high nitrogen lawn-type fertilizer, the plant pours all of its energy into making more and more leaves, instead of doing the thing you actually want, which is flowering and setting fruit. You may even see the blossoms drop right off before they ever turn into tomatoes. There's a sneaky second problem too. All that fast leafy growth pulls calcium up to the leaves and away from the fruit, which can make blossom end rot even worse. So overfeeding nitrogen can rob you twice. The fix is to feed with intention. Once your plants start flowering and fruiting, ease off the nitrogen and lean toward a fertilizer with more phosphorus and potassium. the nutrients that support blooms, fruit, and flavor. Look at the 3 numbers on the bag and don't reach for one where that first number is sky high. And whatever you use, follow the label. With tomatoes, a little restraint at the fertilizer bag gives you a lot more in the harvest basket. Mistake number 7, letting your plants sprawl unsupported. Last one, and it's the mistake I see in more gardens than almost any other. You plant your tomato, life gets busy, and before you know it, the thing is a giant, tangled mess flopping across the ground. And a sprawling, unsupported tomato is a tomato in trouble. When stems and fruit lie on the soil, they're sitting right in the splash zone for disease and right in the path of every slug, pest, and rot problem you can imagine. The plant becomes a dense, tangled jungle that traps moisture and blocks sunlight from reaching the ripening fruit inside. You end up with less usable fruit and a lot more disappointment. So support your plants from the start. Drive a sturdy stake or set a cage in place at planting time, not later, when the roots are already established and you'll damage them. As the plant grows, gently tie the stems to the stake or thread them through the cage. And if you're growing the tall vining types, the ones that just keep climbing all season, give them a light pruning too. Pinch out some of those little shoots that form in the crook between the main stem and a branch, the ones we call suckers. Removing a few opens the plant up to sunlight and airflow and channels its energy into fruit rather than endless foliage. A well-supported, tidy tomato plant is a healthier, more productive one, and so much easier to harvest. Wrapping up. So there you have it, the 7 quiet mistakes that can steal your tomato harvest while everything looks perfectly fine. The wonderful news is that not a single one of these is hard to fix. A little patience, a little space, steady water, and a thoughtful hand at the fertilizer bag, and you'll be hauling in baskets of beautiful tomatoes all season long. If this helped you see your garden a little differently, do me a favor and tap that subscribe button so we can keep growing together. Then tell me down in the comments which of these 7 mistakes you have been making. I won't tell anyone. Let's fix it together. I'll see you in the next one.